The Democrats, and this is the only little bit of good news, Parmeshwar, is that they've crossed the 200 mark. It doesn't mean very much. The Republicans' chances of winning are at 62%. The Democrats are just 37%. These are the swing states which are going to make or break the Republicans and Democrats. North Carolina has been called. That's gone to the Republicans. And everywhere else, it's not looking very good for Kamala Harris. If you look at Arizona, it is neck and neck at this stage. Georgia, it seems to have gone to Trump. Michigan, it's going to go Kamala Harris's way quite clearly. Nevada is not in as yet. And then let's go to the next page where we've got North Carolina,
Pennsylvania,
which has again gone to the Republicans. Pennsylvania, it's gone to the to the Republicans most likely. Wisconsin has gone to the Republicans as well. So if you're looking at 5 states, right?
5 out of the 7.
5 of the 7, or at the bare minimum 4 out of the 7, but likely 5 at least to the Republicans, then it's a done deal. The elections are over, and that's what. And this is the big worry then for the Democrats. What does Kamala Harris have to do, or hope to have achieved from here onwards? With these numbers, it'll be very difficult to overtake the Republicans.
Indeed. In fact, let's take that to our studio guests as well who join us. Ambassador Manjeev Puri, former diplomat, is with us on the broadcast. Also with us, Suresh Goyal, former Indian envoy. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us. Ambassador Puri, to you first. It seems, as per the numbers that are on the screen at the moment, it's Donald Trump's election. We're not calling it yet, but with the early projections, it seems that the numbers are favoring Trump. Everyone has warned. Political analysts, geopolitical watchers have warned that this time, if Trump comes back for term 2.0, he'll come back with less guardrails, perhaps none. What does this mean for us in India?
Parmeshwar, thank you very much. And wearing red, let me endorse what you just said, that it looks his way at the moment. Secondly, migrants has been a big issue here. Let me say something light-hearted to start this bit. Whichever one wins, either the White House or the Blair House has an Indian in it. Feel a little good about it, I say. Migrants matter. They're useful. Talking about guardrails, yes, this is generally the impression of everyone that President Trump, if he comes back, and incidentally, this will be only the second time that such a thing would have happened. I think it's Grover Cleveland, somewhere in the late 1800s, when it happened last time, that somebody lost out and then came back. Look, there is this issue of feeling kind of hurt, insulted, left out, what he claims the election that was stolen from him. And so therefore, going after elements of the Democratic Party, all of those things would be there. I think somewhere he mentioned that one of his first acts within the first 20 seconds will be to fire the special prosecutor. So yes, all that will happen. But other than that, when I look at things otherwise, I look at the Donald Trump possibilities as being more a continuation of what happened in the past. There will be transactional stuff. As far as we are concerned, perhaps in India, general feeling is that we may have a little bit more policy space in the matter, be less sort of looking into what's happening inside here. There might be greater support in terms of the issues that we have vis-a-vis China. Maybe on the issues of the environment, fossil fuels, etc., we may have greater space for development where we are facing these problems. So, look, India as a country has positioned itself relatively well. We've done well. We have become the 5th largest economy, where we would be a country of interest to everyone. Having said all of this particular thing, I would say that the greatest number of challenges for people outside the United States of America for a Trump presidency would be in Europe. And he has mentioned this last time too, and I'm sure that would continue to be the issue again this particular time. For us, perhaps a little bit more of policy space, but at the end of the day, we are a country that matters, a country that would be of interest to the United States. And for a president where economy is the focus, make more money, etc., there, of course, that doesn't mean it'll all be hunky-dory. Trade, migration, all of those are issues we'll have to contend with.
And you stick by this, knowing that Trump is known to have an isolationist foreign policy approach.
Yes, I completely agree with you. The Democrats over the years have moved towards this hegemonic America, spread the word. That's the kind of thing that they say. Perhaps the world has changed a little bit. And why has it changed fundamentally? We in India like the idea of the rise of the Indo-Pacific. Fundamentally, that means the rise of China, a major challenge. Think about it. The Western world ran the world for a long time with no competition. And now you have a country which is likely to become the largest economy in the world within the next 20, 30 years. So these are challenges. They are challenges which are reflected in the United States. The kind of vote that you've seen Trump gathering right from 2016, what is it? It's, in a sense, I wouldn't say denial of globalization, but certainly the impacts of globalization. We sitting in India are happy with globalization. We've done well. The Chinese are happy. Most people in the developing world are happy. But the old developed world countries, those who benefited by just simply being there, doing their bit, producing the air conditioners and the cars, they want to know what's happened. Okay. Why the challenge? Why the air conditioners are coming from China? Why are the cars coming from somewhere else? What is happening? Why not us? So there is a reaction. And I think you are seeing that over the last so many years.
All right, let's go across to Alistair, who's been tracking the elections very closely indeed. Alistair, thanks very much for being with us. Give us a sense of what's happening around you. Are people willing to accept right now that it's going to be Trump all the way? It just
nice
seems
to see him
that way.
smiling, though, considering the numbers, the dismal numbers so far.
I'm smiling because I'm out here in the cold and we can really feel the chill. And joining me is Kamala Harris supporter, Ajay. Ajay, we've gotten word, as you know, about North Carolina, the Associated Press calling it for Donald Trump. How do you feel?
I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I think we had a good chance, but my margins are close, and you know, the window appears to be closing on the electoral vote side. But hopefully, we can still pull it through. You know.
Okay, so. Sure. Yeah, it's not done. You're saying it's not done. We're still waiting, but it's kind of leaning towards Trump. So we were at a watch party just now, which has kind of wound up. But the watch party for Donald Trump, when this news came in, they were absolutely ecstatic about North Carolina. They were cheering. But here, of course, it doesn't seem to be the case. What do you think went against Kamala Harris?
I think the issue about the economy seems to be more than I expected. You know, I mean, he seems to have used that to his advantage. You know, in associating her with Biden. You know.
All right. So you blame Biden for this. So not sure. I can't hear the studio right now, but I'm going to hand it back to you.
Parmeshwar?
Well, thanks so much for that update, Alistair. We will, of course, revert to Alistair for regular updates. We also have with us at the moment Andrew Latham joining us, Professor of Political Science, International Relations, Regional Conflict and Security, as well as Foreign Policy. Andrew, along expected lines, or would you say that the polls got it slightly wrong? I mean, world over, it's not the best time for incumbent governments, it seems.
I'm not sure the polls got it entirely wrong. It was always going to be tilted in favor of Trump, whether you like it or not. Kamala Harris, I have to say, is an empty pantsuit, and she was never going to sway people. You know, there's the usual things. Minnesota's going the way it does because I live here, and it's going the way it always does. And Texas is going the way it always has. She really wasn't positioned to transform the electoral landscape in the United States. She simply wasn't.
Puneet, let me take that across to you. You'd be very happy with what you're seeing right now. It just seems increasingly unlikely, if not impossible, for Kamala Harris to win from here on. I'm not sure this is going to be a landslide win, but it's not likely at this juncture going to be a narrow win for Trump. It's going to be a fairly significant one.
Yeah, not quite. If you're asking me, not quite.
No, I'm asking Puneet. Go ahead, Puneet.
Not quite a landslide.
Just 1 second, sir. I'm asking the other panelist. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
As he said, she's an empty suit which was put up or anointed rather than being elected, as President Trump was within the Republican leadership, to lead, and especially in the time in the failed presidency of Biden and inherited and the continuation by Kamala Harris with no message, no clarity of what she was going to do, but she was all the time beating up on President Trump with no clear message. And with the economy, inflation, immigration crisis, wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine, and what has happened in Afghanistan, it was a complete failure. And that's the reason what you're seeing today, it shouldn't be a surprise to the folks. We expected a win from President Trump because he stayed on message. And if you started seeing in the last few days of the campaign, he was cruising. Look at the McDonald's, serving fries at McDonald's, or making fries at McDonald's at the same time driving the dump truck. He had it, and visiting the victims of the hurricane, he showed the empathy and the tenaciousness of campaigning. And she only was seen and perceived as an elitist by having Oprah Winfrey and all the rich folks raising money for her with no substance to really give it to the American people. And that's the reason why you see a shift in the Black Americans, the Hispanic Americans, as we've seen in Dade County in Florida, and in the Asian American population.
Okay. Puneet, just bear with me. I've got Ambassador Suresh Goyal with us in the studio. I mean, I'm going to go one step ahead and say that Trump's winning these elections, or if not, that being the case, what does Trump bring to India in terms of foreign policy? Does it really make a difference for us who's in power in the US?
Vishnu, first of all, I don't really think that I can give it away like this, that Trump is winning. I mean, I look at the numbers. It is around 209. Kamala Harris is going ahead. I mean, I know it's an outlier, but it can happen. And I'm keeping my hopes up.
All right.
Okay. But coming to the question that you put, if you look at the balance sheet of what Trump and Kamala Harris would mean really, Trump first. Trump is very transactional. Trump's interest really with India is mostly, it's not security or strategy related. He looks at India basically in terms of trade, economic, largest market, how much can USA sell to India, what does India have to offer in return, etc. Please remember last time also when he was the president, he questioned India's trade policies so often. And this time also he has already declared that he would impose double the traffic on Indian goods, etc., etc. That is number one. Number two, China, which is really the dragon in the China shop, particularly next door to us in Indo-Pacific and across our borders. Now, Trump's interest in China is purely trade related. Most of the US companies, they're leaving China, if they want to leave China, they're trying to leave China, but they're not able to leave China basically because of the investment they have done already, the amount of investment. And many of them have already said that they are finding it difficult to leave. iPhone, for example, is finding it difficult to leave, even though they have come to India and they have done some kind of production.
Right.
Now, if that is the case, and suddenly it so happens that China and the USA again begin to look at partners, trade partners, in a more positive way. How does it impact on India? Where does Indo-Pacific go? Because our policies vis-a-vis China have really been pivoted to Indo-Pacific.
Ambassador, just give me half a second. I wanted to go across to Parul Khemka, the New Jersey State Director for South Asians for Harris. Parul, it's not looking good for you now, is it? Do you accept that it's going to be Trump most likely as the president, or do you actually feel that it's still too early to call these elections?
It is too early to call this election right now. We don't even have so many of the urban centers where the long lines existed, where all of those Democratic hubs are. They have not finished counting their votes. So I think we're all jumping the gun. I just want to respond to something that my colleagues here on my sides have said about that Kamala Harris has no plan. I don't know where you're reading this up, but I think the only person who has communicated any kind of policy plans has been Kamala Harris. And I totally agree with Mr. Goyal here, who does say that he has already gone ahead and talked about doubling tariffs for India. He has already gone ahead and said that he's going to be very firm with them. He has, in the past, he has told us and said that there will be repercussions if we don't supply the hydrochloroquine when it was COVID times. So I think it's very important that, you know, as South Asians, as we know that we are also here, we're struggling with somebody who has a very strong, vehement opinion and is looking to be just for the nationalist Christians that have interest in the country. So I'm very, you know, I really want to tell you, hold your horses. If there's any Democrat, the one thing that you know is that you have to stay awake way past midnight to really see what's coming down and trickling
but
down.
Parul, I understand your sense that, you know, look, wait, hoping against hope, but let's just look at the percentage of votes in the swing states. Wisconsin 76%, Pennsylvania 66%, North Carolina 92%, Georgia 93%, Arizona 50%. So for Kamala Harris to actually make a comeback in a couple of these states, Wisconsin, for example, where there are 76% of votes in, you know, I mean, she'd have to win almost everything of the remaining votes. And that's the case in so many of the other swing states. That seems unlikely.
You know, here's the thing. One thing that we've seen definitely is there's a big turnout in the rural areas. And that's the area where it's the easiest to count the votes because they're coming in quicker. There are fewer people there. Let's wait and watch. This game is not over until it's over. This game is probably not going to be over until later in the morning.
Okay, so some breaking news coming in. Sorry to interrupt. The Republicans, it appears, have taken the Senate. That's some information that we're getting in right now. That's a huge development right now. Puneet, you want to come in over there? A quick comment from you on that?
Yes, we took over West Virginia, and I think we won Nevada. No, I think it was Nebraska. And I think Montana is still in play, and maybe Nevada too. So I think we are doing exceptionally well, and that's the reason our friend says that we don't have a plan. We do have a plan, and we'll hold the House, have taken the control of the Senate, and we will have the White House. So it's a clear win for the Republican Party, but more importantly, it's a clear win for the Americans who believe in individual liberty.
Andrew Latham, could you tell us about the significance? Sorry, Parmeshwar, I know you wanted to jump in.
No problem.
You know, of the Senate being won by the Republicans.
So, no matter who wins the presidency, this is a country in which there are these checks and balances. And it looks to me like the Republicans are going to take the House and they're going to take the Senate. And from what I can tell right now, although we have to wait till tomorrow, it looks like they're going to take the presidency as well. I'm not that concerned because I think there are guardrails built into this system. I think there are checks and balances, and I don't think what we saw when Donald Trump was president the last time, he couldn't get away with whatever he wanted to do. There are guardrails, there are checks, there are balances, and whether it doesn't matter who is in the driver's seat, they can't do anything that they want to do just because they want to do it. And this is something I love about the American political system. This is different from the parliamentary system in India, in Canada, in the UK. This is different. There are real guardrails in place to prevent lunatics, if I can put it that way, from doing whatever they want to do.
All right, Puneet has a frown on his face. He has the right to respond to that. Go ahead, Puneet.
The founding fathers were very clear to have the balance of power not in one person's hand, because we have seen lunatics take over and take a democracy into an autocracy, as we have seen other nations. So that's the reason why we have the legislative arm, we have the judicial arm, and we have a very strong leaders in our nation who really love this country and love the individual liberty. And as I said, it's the victory for individual liberty, and we all believe that we have a God-given freedom and rights. So
Ambassador Puri,
I echo what Andrew was saying.
It's their country. They have a right to look at it. But we saw when there were no these kinds of guardrails, Roe v. Wade, and you've seen all those particular results.
And the 3 Supreme Court judges appointed by Donald Trump himself.
Absolutely, Parmeshwar. Look, the thing is, no one says that you can do what you want. That's not the idea. But the question of guardrails is, we are making these judgments in terms of America being the global leader, liberal policies, so many other aspects of those things. Those did take a bit of a backseat. As far as we are concerned in India, perhaps we like the idea of a little bit more policy space to be able to do your own things yourself, to take advantage of the fact that you are a huge and majorly growing economy. So everybody looks at it different. I fully appreciate the perspectives of the colleagues who are sitting there. Each of them come from their own side. But one of the things is, it would appear that, there has been a kind of education divide in terms of what you see. Secondly, in terms of the monies, I'm not talking about the very rich guys with huge capexes from California and what they did, but otherwise the guys who are in business, etc., their understanding and their approach versus professional. So it would seem to me, who has never held a green card, who's only lived in the United States as a diplomat and is an Indian in every sense of the word, stands for India. But I respect their perspectives.
But Parul, many of Kamala Harris's critics have actually pointed out that she has been salient on issues of economy and inflation. Would you attribute Donald Trump's performance so far, in terms of the numbers that we're seeing, to the fact that Kamala Harris hasn't been crystally clear in terms of disclosing her plan, her agenda?
I just have to say something to this. I feel like she has said a lot about her economic plan. I'm not clear about what you're
Has she been crystally clear, and has she convinced her voters?
Well, whether you're talking about, you just said she's not crystal clear about her plan. She has been absolutely crystal clear. She's the one who said she has a plan, not a concept of a plan. And when Donald Trump went out and said, yes, I want to get rid of Obamacare and I want to replace it with something much better. And when he was asked, what's your plan? He said, I have a concept of a plan. Even in terms of economy, she has clearly been stating what her plan is. Those plans have been communicated plenty of times.
All right. I just give me half a second, Andrew Latham. If we look at the larger picture right now, the Senate is gone to the Republicans. The Congress would likely be retained by the Democrats. The White House is headed towards the Republicans, who already have a big say in terms of control of the Supreme Court. Which way is America headed?
Well, it's headed in a very Republican, Trumpian direction. And I'm not sure that that's a bad thing. Again, I come back to guardrails. These Trump, J.D. Vance and Trump, and they can't do whatever they want. At the end of the day, there are these guardrails in place that this is a very resilient...
Andrew, we are talking about guardrails even before he's won the election. I mean, I sense, I hear your sense of foreboding. I hear your sense of worry loud and clear that, oh my God, let's just hope things aren't as bad as they can be.
Well, no, that's not where I was going. I was going to make a point about resilience. The American political system is very resilient. This is not Italy in 1920 with Mussolini coming to power, and it's not Nazi Germany in 1933. This is a very resilient democracy, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day whether Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or Andrew Latham is elected, it really doesn't matter because there's only so much that you can do. You can push things in this direction, you can push things in that direction, but you can't. The nonsense talk about fascism, I've taught courses on fascism for 30 years. The nonsense talk about that F word that has permeated the American political discourse for the last little bit is, I'm just going to say silly. I could say stupid, but it's just nonsensical.
All right.
This is not Italy in 1925.
I get the point that you're making, that there are enough checks and balances. Ambassador Goel, before we go to a break, again, what would this mean for India with Trump likely headed to the White House? We do know that there is a good equation with Trump and Prime Minister Modi. We both have concerns over China. There is a deep technology investment from India and America in India as well. Do you see this relationship just going up and up?
You know, Vishnu, I mean, we are here at the moment talking about the US elections because even though it's an election in the USA,
it's an election around the world.
It really should matter to the Americans as to who they elect. But we are all sitting here like the other places around the world, wondering as to who is going to come there because American president is the one who impacts not just on America or one country. Yeah. He impacts on the entire globe. And now, therefore, when you talk about India versus the USA, the relationship, I've already spoken about the bilateral part of it, really. I don't think that we can be very comfortable with the transactional president, and I'm being very, very moved here in that sense, that we will have to watch what his mood is like. He's very, very volatile. He could be very unpredictable from time to time. Right. But the point really here is that our future or what our policy space, as Manjeev said so often, will depend not only what USA and India are, but what happens in Europe, what happens in Middle East. Now, if Trump's policies are going to impact on the Middle East the way I look at it, I think there is a lot of risk factor there.
Okay, let me interrupt you there. I do need to take a short break at this stage, come back to the very latest. It is headed towards the Republican camp. Donald Trump does seem to be headed back to the White House. We aren't calling it just yet, but for the Democrats to actually win from here on, that seems difficult. Live images from a Harris campaign rally to the left of your screen, a Trump campaign rally to the right. We expect both leaders to be there soon. Will Harris at some stage concede defeat? We don't know. I think she'd still be waiting. But now with substantial percentage of votes in the swing states, it looks very difficult for the Democrats. We'll be back in a moment.